Josie's joining us today.
We have a surprise guest. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Implied Project. I'm Tony Martinez with Implied, and with my lovely co-host, Jamie Gaynor. And who's our new co-host?
Jonesy. I mean, he has his hands, feet up on this. He's ready to go. He's on the desk.
Best looking one in the city.
Yeah.
He's got quite. I think he's got a crush on JR. Apparently.
Here he goes. Okay. Now we're good.
Our special guests today are Childress, otherwise known as The Iconic Imagery on Instagram, and JR. Thank you guys so much for joining us. So what's happening with you guys up in Nashville?
Enjoying the weather, for one.
Today's been very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I think we're holding on to summer by a thread still.
Tiny
but
bit.
it's about to disappear.
Tiny bit.
That's good. That's good. And I wish I had a glass of whatever you're having right there. What are we drinking?
It's some kind of Stella Rose. It's a green apple.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's leftover actually, so I finished the bottle off.
Yeah, I've been delving into the more of the wine stuff, especially that we're home more. So
Yeah.
getting into it.
Yeah, I've been just trying to catch up on backlog stuff. I've been really busy lately, so I'm just trying to catch up, get everybody's photos to them, and clear my mind and make way for new stuff.
Great. Jonesy's obviously left us.
Yeah.
He's behind me with a toy and he's squeaking it, and I'm just praying that you guys don't hear it. Every time I sit down to do this, he's like, "Oh, we should definitely play with my toy right now." Every week.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
So Chris, let me start with you. Obviously, we featured your work quite often on the Implied because I really like your style, and we'll show some of those photos here in a little bit. But tell us like how you got into photography, like what were you doing, and when and what got you into that flow.
I have always been fascinated with editorial photography and glamour photography. When I was in high school, I used to collect like Maxim magazine, like all of these Sports Illustrated calendars. I still have some like vintage, vintage for me from high school, like Sports Illustrated calendars, swimsuit edition things like. And so I was always like, man, this looks like a fun thing to do. How do you do this? So I graduated college in 2007, and I bought my first camera from Best Buy and didn't know much about it, and just started photographing friends, and then friends turned into other friends, and then models, and so forth. So I've been doing this for like 13 something years.
So you were basically always in the whole glamour side of it from the beginning.
Well, I was doing like edits. I was doing just portraits for a long time. I just only started doing glamour like since 2016. So I started doing like boudoir and more like kind of sexier stuff. But before that, for like 9 years, I was just doing just portraits of people.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought Jamie.
What about FHM? Did you collect any of those? Remember that magazine?
Yeah, definitely. I was a big fan of FHM and Maxim. They were like my two. I was like, I'd love to be in this book.
That was my debut. My FHM was my debut. I cannot remember what year it was though. Victoria Silvis, I believe, was on the cover. It was a special edition. I have it upstairs.
Wow.
I have to go get it.
That is.
It was a long time ago.
They're back now. I've been featured in FHM now, but they don't do print anymore.
Just online.
Yeah, online now, and it's really cool.
It was a great magazine.
It was like Maxim, but like I don't know. It was just different. It was. I want to say it was British owned. I think so. It was
They're overseas.
A little different, yeah.
Were they?
Well, that's where their headquarters.
Yeah.
Were. And they were, I think. I want to say I don't want to say more international than Maxim, but they definitely had a European flavor.
Huh. I didn't know that. We shot in New York City in Soho. I cannot remember. That was an eternity ago, though.
That's really cool. I have to look you up now. I gotta find those.
It would because you said 2007. It made me think of that. It would have been pre-2007, but now I can't for the life of me remember what it was. It was called Ladies Confidential, and they had it. It was toward the back, and they had one every month. It was like a collection of 5 or so women, and there was a theme for it. And it was like
sort of.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I'll have to post it.
Yeah, please. I would love to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, how would you define your style? Like, if you were trying to describe it to somebody you just met, like, how would you describe your style?
I don't know. I would think I think I like to shoot. I would say cinematic. I want people to describe it as cinematic. So I've been doing videos for the last few years, and like I've been trying really hard to like make that look really like cinematic and very like movie-esque. You know what I mean? And I want that kind of feel. I want that authenticity kind of feel. So I don't do a lot of airbrushing too much. I don't do a lot of heavy retouching and post-production stuff. So I want it to be very naturalistic and cinematic. So I think cinematic would be the adjective I'd use.
That's a great word.
Well, thank
As
you.
well.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people would have said that. I mean, I really appreciate that. I feel like the stuff that I'm drawn to, because I mean, I've done, the internet is oversaturated with the glammy stuff, which I do love, but I've been really drawn, especially for the past year, to things that even if they are over Photoshopped, I can't tell. Like they look really, really organic. I like that. Cinematic is a good word for that. I've been really drawn to that too.
Yeah, he actually has some really great video as well. So, I think you have some on your Instagram, don't you? Video?
Yeah. Well, I just told her I just pulled like 98% of my Instagram content because
I saw that. I was like, where's his stuff?
Yeah, Instagram has been flagging me so much, and I'm worried about losing this. I've already lost my first page, so I don't want to lose this.
Oh.
Really, yeah, I've been on eggshells.
May I ask what they've been flagging you for? Because this has been a consistent issue.
Sexual solicitation. That's what they deleted my first page for. And
Wait, solicitation?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know who I'm next to, but or what how they define that, but
I don't know. That's relatable though. They're hitting everybody.
they're getting a lot of people, and there's a lot of people not getting too. I'm not on that lucky list, I guess.
That's a shame.
It's crazy. It's like we decide what's too much and what's not too much, because I've had friends where their photos have been taken down and flagged in just a normal bikini, not even in kind of crazy position or anything like that, just completely normal. And then I see now like some stuff that's pretty exposed that would be considered XXX.
Agree.
Instagram, and they're not being taken down. So I just
it's not consistent at all. That's my biggest thing with them is like if you follow their guidelines, like for example, no crotch shots, of course, and no close-ups of the buttocks and whatever, and these photos follow the guidelines. Obviously, we've had some taken down, and I'm like, we're not even close to
any of those.
Yeah, and it's just the consistency is my biggest problem with them. If you're going to have a guideline and people are sticking with it, then abide by your own guidelines.
Yeah, I agree.
This is so funny because I posted a picture, a screenshot of a trailer for a video, and within seconds, Instagram pulled it for sexual solicitation. And then I tapped on made a mistake. They reviewed it, and then they reposted it for me. Then a few minutes later, the model that I tagged in it, Tiffany Lynn, she tried to repost that same screenshot. Hers got pulled within seconds, and they reviewed it, and they wouldn't let it come back up.
See, there's no consistency.
Same thing, same picture. So it's really weird. Like you said, Tony, it's really, it's not consistent.
I mean, are there individual people that review this?
I don't think that's not possible.
Or is it just like bots?
It has.
You would think so, because obviously there's with the example that he just explained, it's like maybe it was two different people,
right,
and all that. But at the same time, like I said, if you have guidelines, stick to the black and white of it, and not just be so subjective with it. There's so many factors. It seems to me, it could be who the profile is for, So
I thought that.
For example, established brands like, let's say, Playboy, for example, has stuff on there that should be flagged. It's not, but of course they have several million people on there.
Business.
Yeah. But and then at the same time, someone can argue, well, shoot, you've had Chelsea Handler or Rihanna, they've had their stuff taken down, So then it's okay, they're not playing favorites, but still, it's just obviously it's an issue. Otherwise, some of these celebrities, like the ones I mentioned, and Miley Cyrus, and I know there's countless other ones that have posted stuff on purpose to
Oh yeah.
Protest against that.
Yeah.
I know Miley did. I remember that a while back, like several months ago.
Yeah, there's
Really
Strange.
a lot, like on her page.
Yeah, and it's just and there's no way to communicate with Instagram. You basically there's no
Right.
way to directly communicate with these people, and even if you try and share feedback with them, you don't know if they're actually paying attention to it or even responding to it in any significant way.
It's a strange entity. Yes.
It
I've
is.
never had a photo given back. I've fought some of the reports that I've had that they've had and they've like, nope, definitely sexual activity. I'm like, are you sure? But nope. Yeah.
I tried to appeal my first page being deleted. I went through some resources that I knew, and they actually got in touch with someone at Instagram, and they were like, no, it's pulled, it's done.
Man.
I was like, wow, and I can't get in touch with that person, so it is what it is.
So
It's crazy.
strange
I
to
went
me.
through like 5 stages of grief with losing my page. I went through like anger, denial. I went through like all.
Yeah. I completely relate to that.
I couldn't believe it at first. I was like, I think I was just in shock that I was literally in Florida and I was eating. I was taking a break from shooting. I was eating, and I went to go to my page to check my stuff because I hadn't done it all day. And then I'm like, it wouldn't let me log in. I was like, what is going on here?
It's crazy. I know just from for our profile sake, when I first started Implied, I know that a big part of the reason we grew so fast was because of the hashtag Implied.
Oh yeah,
magazine, and that was a big part of the growth of my profile. I know Jamie knows my story as far as how I started, but like for those that don't know, I started out as a passion project, because I grew up during the age of Playboy when like the top celebrity photographers were shooting with it. It didn't all look the same. It was great photography, and nowadays everything kind of looks the same. Everything's got the same glam look, and so I started Implied, thinking, okay, this is the kind of artwork that I wish we would focus on more. And thankfully, obviously, I think a lot of people responded to it. One of my biggest compliments that I take is people thinking, hey, you must have a female curator, because of what you select. And I'm like, no, but I'm glad you think so, because I want the artwork to appeal to women, not just the guys. Guys are easy, just
Yes.
draw them in, But anyway, so if I try to start Implied now, because I know for a fact our hashtags are shadow banned.
yeah.
Like I tell people now, don't use our hashtag. Tag us directly. But don't use the hashtags. And there's no way we could have grown now, if I just started it now, there's no way I could grow this brand the way it has grown. And so I'm lucky that I started it. And the fact that Instagram has gotten so overly strict is just crazy. I understand that they say because they're on the Apple store platform, that they've got to abide by the community guidelines there because it is a 13 and up app. So you've got to restrict the content on there. But they should have done that from the beginning. And,
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point, is that it's changed so drastically in just a matter of a couple of years. So I don't buy that argument.
No.
Neither do I.
Anyway, JR, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with all of that. I mean, it just seems, you would think that it would slack a little bit at some point because of so many complaints, but I feel like it's become more and more strict, and again, not across the board. So now you're just worried about, what can I post?
Yeah.
It's always a roll of the dice at this point, especially knowing that people have posted something that is completely harmless.
Yeah.
Have been taken down in minutes, and then seeing other pages, it's like, what does their profile say that makes them different? Or you get flagged once and that's just it for you for the rest of the time you're on Instagram.
I know.
But to me, if you're going to monitor censorship, I mean, and you're worried about people who are younger, I feel like that's the parents' deal, you know? I mean, there's accessibility everywhere online now. And to make an app so strict like that, it just seems unnecessary, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You should be watching out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been saying for a while that all of this would be easily resolved if Facebook and or Instagram decided to just put a filter, a mature filter, and then like Flickr does. So if you don't mark it as mature, then you get your flag, you get your page flagged or banned or whatever it is. Or, you know, you go to Facebook jail, right? So I think that would be the smarter thing for them to do, and that way it's in the user's hands. Like, okay, if your child chose, you know, it's mature only, and they went there anyways, that's on them, like she's saying.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. It's
That'd
not
be a great way to regulate it.
Yeah, it's not like they don't have the technology to do that.
Well, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Today's day and age with OnlyFans and stuff like that, and OnlyFans has the connotations and the implications from other people. It has that perception of being like pornographic. I think that Instagram and stuff are a little bit more weary about that because they don't want their stuff to be convoluted with adult material. And I think that's why they're trying so hard to push for like bans and censorship, and they're trying to come down on people with their guidelines.
Right.
Because of that, I think they don't want to be associated with Instagram is, you know, Twitter is kind of like it's a free for all.
Yeah.
I think that's when I started getting flagged. Actually, was whenever I started posting my OnlyFans stuff, like the link or the swipe up thing. I think that's when I started getting reported.
It's funny you say that because the very, very last post I posted on that first page that I had was a swipe up boomerang to go to my Patreon page. And it was like, that was the last thing I saw.
Yep.
And I remember exactly who it was, what it was. And she was dressed, she was clothed, and we were outside by the pool. And it was just, it was flagged, it was gone.
That's it.
Crazy.
Yeah, they don't like OnlyFans.
Honestly, like, you know, yes, a vast majority uses OnlyFans for, you know, modeling or other reasons, but there's people who are musicians or artists, you know,
there's personal trainers, like there's all kinds of stuff on there.
And Patreon as well. So we're talking about a stigma here, and it's only affecting that one group, from my understanding. So there's still there's some answers, like whole questions that are left unanswered.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and show some of the artwork. Let's start off with, let's see here. Okay, here's one we'll start off with. And let's see here. Okay. Trying to find the right tab here. There we go. All right. There we go. Now, who's the model in this one?
This is Carlotta Champagne.
Oh my gosh, that's such a familiar name.
She's based out in LA or California, somewhere north of LA.
Has she been around for a while?
Yeah, she's got like 800,000 followers.
Yeah, I feel like I recognize that name from way back. Holy cow.
Right, and then,
that's awesome.
Super professional. And this is a girl, a friend of mine named Bailey. She doesn't really model or identify herself as a model, but she looks the part.
But she sure did it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This image is very famous with your name.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite pictures for sure.
Is this Carlotta again?
This is beautiful.
Yep.
I love that.
I like to. You'll see in a lot of my photos. I like to do this, and you know how I shoot. Like I like to shoot this kind of voyeuristic sort of where I shoot around corners and around objects and through objects, because I just feel like it adds like this sense of like, you know, candor to it.
It does. It feels more intimate. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. We're gonna show JR off a little bit.
God.
Oh yeah.
I love this shot.
It was one of both of us like that. This one.
Beautiful.
See, and this goes along with what you were talking about. This does kind of have a cinematic look to it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I really like
I
that.
love that place.
Yeah.
Love.
That's a good location.
So how did you two connect?
Actually, I followed Chris for a long time through Kylie Myers. Her and I work together and have been good friends for a while now. And, after COVID hit and everything, and things started to settle down a little bit after the beginning, I started to do a few more shoots, and she finally introduced me to Chris, and we were able to link up.
Yeah, I like these.
I love that.
The lighting in this one.
Yes.
Yeah, my butt looks great in that one.
Yes. You ain't wrong.
We shot a video the same night we did these pictures in the same location, and it's one of the best videos I've ever done, and it's definitely one of the longest ones too. And it's just it's funny because a lot of my videos do contain nudity, but this one was very implied, right? It was just like it was such a great video. Like I wish I could just, and maybe we will release it at some point for
Yeah.
people. But it's like this 4-minute like narrative of just JR coming home from work and she's stressed out and she's trying to do some stuff on the laptop and she's slamming it, she's getting irritated and she goes and she winds out, and basically has herself a glass of wine and takes a bath, and it's just very, very cinematic.
I love that.
A lot of fun. Great.
Well, anytime you can mix wine in.
Oh yeah, sure.
Which was actually Bush
Yeah,
Light.
yeah. Yeah, we didn't have any wine nearby, so we improv there.
Totally forgot about the
Yeah,
wine.
we improv there. Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
I think that's my favorite one.
This one?
Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah, this would have a lot of fans for sure.
I may still have back issues from this photo. I was on the ground for that shot.
Love it.
There we go.
Yeah,
That was our
great.
first time working together.
Wow.
And we weren't even going to do this. This picture here was like a last resort, sort of like afterthought, really. Like we had already stopped, we had already completed the shoot, and then I was like,
and you saw those white curtains.
yeah, right. I was up on this balcony. I was like, oh man, JR, like, you want to do any like implied topless stuff up here? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we did it.
So I don't know if you listened to last week, but we had a very similar situation. The model and photographer were done with their shoot and they were in a pool and her booty like rose to the top of the water. And he was like, wait.
Yeah.
So that's 2 in a row now where we're like, the shoot was done. And then we just saw this other amazing stuff. I love that.
Man, and I love when it happens because it's kind of like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's so opposite of me in real life. Like me in real life, I'll pass on something. And then later on I regret it. I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Why didn't I, and then this is like one of those things I was like, well, let me just ask her and see, because if I don't want to do it, I'll just do it later on, maybe with somebody else, or I'll, it'll be in my head that this needs to get done,
Well, when you're at the end of the shoot, that's when things are really firing. Like you know what I mean? Like it's flowing better.
Either that,
just do it right then.
Or you're tired as hell, and you're like, dude, I'm all right. I'm ready to go home, or I'm hungry, or whatever.
I love it.
Everybody's got their juices
That's
flowing
beautiful.
by that point, their creative juices.
Yeah. This was we had a real bad flood the night before, and then.
Oh, I see. That's actually in the street, isn't it?
Yeah. So she actually was. Yeah, that's how flooded it was. She knew the location, and we were trying to get there, and then we were driving in my car, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, we can't go any further. So I was like, well, instead of turning around, let's just use this. Like we didn't know how deep it was. So she was such a trooper. This is Felicity, Simply Felicity on Instagram, and she was just like all about it. Like she was like, I don't care, I'll get wet. We had no towels, we had nothing. Like we weren't supposed to get wet at all, like that shoot. And so she was, my hat's off to her. She's all about that kind of stuff.
Small details that like the water ring is like perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
We got lucky with the overcast that day because you want that as a photographer.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right. So, and JR, tell us your story. How'd you get into modeling and whatnot? Was it something you've always wanted to do, or you fell into it by accident?
Yes and yes. Honestly, I've stayed busy, working with my life. I mean, I have a lot of friends that model, and I had been interested in it, but I never took the time. And with 2020, you know, came more time and voluntary vacation on my hands. And so I decided, you know, well, if any time, it's now to start getting creative. And so I had the opportunity to work with a few really good photographers, that's including Chris, and get some practice in, and it's inspired that. I really enjoy being a muse in someone's art and just being a part of their creating and working together.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's great.
Now you guys are in Nashville, you said?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I feel like there are a ton of locations. I could be wrong, but I feel like there are just a ton of locations to shoot.
I need to explore more. I do so much stuff in Airbnbs and hotels and stuff because of the nature of my work.
Yeah.
I can't really do it publicly. So
yeah, there's a lot of places that have been built that are very much so like created for the creative mind. You know, anybody can come in and do photography. A lot of Airbnbs have been built too.
Right.
That is true.
Give that opportunity, but you have the city, and then you can be 10 minutes outside of the city, and you're near a beautiful lake with all this greenery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Nashville a couple of times actually. It's gorgeous out there. It's
beautiful.
Really,
I just moved here like two years ago. So.
Is it the kind of place where you can get in the car and go find some abandoned spots not too far out of the city?
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Yes, that's my
I
stuff.
haven't found any yet though, so you know, she may know how to.
I know a few of them that are
year.
near the city. I do have a friend that has told me there's a lot of them that she knows about that are closer to the Clarksville area.
Okay.
Within 40-minute drive.
North, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my stuff.
But we'll have to come out there sometime. Hopefully when things get back to normal. I know Chris and I have talked about hopefully doing some video work projects together. Hopefully, JR, you're going to have to be part of that.
I would love to. Absolutely.
Yeah. That'd be great. So, but thank you guys so much for being a part of it. I actually would love to do another segment with you guys sometime soon. Chris, I'll talk to you. Maybe touch a little bit more on the video since we didn't really get to see some of that because you got rid of it.
Yeah. Sorry.
That just builds anticipation. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't get rid of it now, they will get rid of it, and then nobody sees it. So I'm in my image, my brand.
No, I love his style. It's very cinematic. It sound like a broken record here, but it's really good stuff. That's why I've reached out to him before about it, and hopefully when we launch our TV channel, you know, Chris will be a big part of it. I can go ahead and mention that now, hopefully, in the future. But and again, JR is going to have to be a part of it. I think we need to do a little behind the scenes episode. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I appreciate all y'all's y'all always shout me out. So on the stories on Instagram. So I appreciate it because I honestly don't think a lot of my follower growth would be what it was without being featured by pages like IMPLIED magazine. You know, like
well, thank you.
You know, because that's a lot of. Unfortunately, I can't really like rely on people to share, like photographers or models to share me on their platforms because a lot of times it's like it's a share for share situation. But with like feature pages like IMPLIED, it's like I tag it and then you guys are like, oh, we like it, and there's no like. Hidden obligate, you know.
Yeah, the key is consistency. To be honest with you, it's like your aesthetic falls directly in line with what I see for our brand, and so you know the artists like yourself that have that consistency and that right look, and you have it. You know, I have no problem featuring you more often than others. Consistency is actually something that's not spoken of as much because. I know, for example, just from my personal standpoint, when I first started and my craft was growing in terms of developing images, you'd have that one badass wow image, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't all the time. It's like when you get to that point where you can replicate that consistency across the board, that's when you know you're growing in your craft, and you never stop growing. But I think consistency is one of those factors that you look for when you start, you know, becoming a true artist.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys again for being a part of it, and I know we'll definitely have you guys on another show. Would love to have you guys on there. Let's do some video next time.
Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. So again, guys, make sure that you guys follow Chris and JR on their Instagrams. I will post the links onto our show, of course, and of course, for those of y'all that are on our podcast, again, we're available on pretty much every platform out there: Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. So download there. If you're just driving and you want to check into the show, feel free to do so. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to my lovely host, Jamie. As always, we're going to have to see that picture of you in FHM.
I'll
Sure.
have it for next time.
Yeah, yeah. And then and thanks to JR and Chris for joining us. We'll see everybody next time.
All right. Take care. Thank you.